On Today Tonight, the GST, how it affects you. We examine the changes and give you the bottom line. Plus Talking Teams with Lee Matthews at 6:30.
Tonight, at last, the GST revealed. 10% on almost everything we buy, with tax cuts and pension bonuses to offset the pain.
I really do believe in here that this is very good for our country, and that's why we're doing it.
And unforgiving, the Premier's bitter attack on Labor's star candidate.
7 Nightly News with David Johnston.
Good evening. A 10% GST. Tax cuts worth $13 billion, and the promise average families will be up to $50 a week better off. After a year of debate, the tax package is out at last. Canberra Chief Glenn Milne begins our special coverage. And Glenn joins us now live. Glenn, you've been studying the tax package. Do you think it can win an election for the coalition?
David, it certainly should provide a political circuit breaker. If the electorate's been looking for an economic plan for the country, they've now got one to consider.
Now it's your turn to have a say on the tax changes with a 7 Nightly News phone poll. If you believe the tax package will help your family, vote yes on 1902 55 55 11. To vote no, 1902 55 55 77. The poll will be open until 6 o'clock tomorrow with the results on 7 Nightly News. Now, after the break, today's other main stories: the Premier versus Labor's star candidate, workmates killed in a crane tragedy, and NASA's most expensive failure. The Northcote by-election campaign has turned nasty, with Premier Jeff Kennetts accusing Labor's Mary Delahunty of lying. And Mr Kennett says 6 years ago he threw the then ABC journalist out of his house after she asked if he ever cheated on his wife. The stock market slipped about 10 points today because of continuing financial turmoil in Asia. A falling Japanese yen dragged our dollar down again, while gold was also lower. To our World Report, and the search for victims in the US Embassy bombing in Kenya has finally been called off. Rescue crews ended their search with a minute's silence for the 247 victims of the Kenyan blast. Among the last bodies to be dragged from the wreckage, Rose Wanjiku, whose cries for help had spurred search teams for 2 days. The investigation will now focus on the mangled wreck of a vehicle suspected of carrying the deadly bomb. And a spectacular and expensive failure for NASA's space program. An unmanned rocket carrying a top-secret spy satellite began to self-destruct shortly after liftoff, forcing safety crews to abort the mission. The blast was so powerful it set off car alarms 13 kilometres away and is estimated to have cost NASA $2 billion. Thursday night sport now. Here's Tim.
Thanks, David. And coming up after the break, a champion hawk back on the track, and the Dogs close ranks after the leaking of a sensitive document.
On Melbourne's Today Tonight, the GST and how it will affect you. We talk to the experts, examine the changes and give you the bottom line. Plus, be first to get your footy side. Talking Teams with Lee Matthews, following 7 Nightly News at 6.
The Western Bulldogs are laying low after a report which listed several players the club would be willing to trade or delist was leaked. Although the report was written earlier in the year, it has caused plenty of embarrassment at Whitten Oval. And David, that's all in sport for now, but Lee will be back in Today Tonight with the AFL teams for this round, and there could be a surprise for St Kilda fans.
I know what it is.
What is it?
No. We'll wait until Lee comes. Thanks, Tim. Weather and the snow reports next.
On Today Tonight, the GST, how it affects you. We examine the changes and give you the bottom line. Plus Talking Teams with Lee Matthews at 6:30.
Tonight's Snow Report, brought to you by Toyota RAV4.
Good evening. Rather gloomy weather in town today after a few clearing showers. Lots of moisture in the air produced that haze that simply blanketed the city. The overnight low was 9.1, the maximum 14.1 near 4 o'clock this afternoon. Currently we have 13 degrees. It's 11 down at Geelong and Anglesea and 9 up in the Dandenongs. As we move on to the satellite segments, the rain producing low, in fact, cleared into eastern Victoria this morning, where it's been raining on and off throughout most of the day. On the left of the screens we take a close look down there, we can see a weak cold front which is heading up towards the Great Australian Bight. Now the low will continue to weaken tomorrow, just drifting up towards Canberra. There it is. As we can see, that pressure gradient is very, very weak, so the winds will be light and fogs and drizzle are likely overnight and tomorrow morning. And also, since we have lots of moisture feeding in from the Tasman Sea, that's what's going to drive all that drizzle tomorrow. Around the nation, some just 1 or 2 showers up in Sydney, around 20 degrees. A wet weekend for them though. Rain in Canberra around 14 degrees. Hobart, not so good, rather cool and cloudy, around 11 degrees, some showers. Adelaide can expect 1 or 2 clearing showers, 16 degrees. 32 and sunshine up in Darwin tomorrow. Perth should be fine and mild, around 20 degrees. Well, close to home, it was hazy right throughout central Victoria, also down through Gippsland today. As far as rainfall goes, most was confined to the eastern half of the state. The biggest falls were about the ranges, and temperature extremes, as we can see, 19 there at Mildura and 1 degree at Mount Hotham. Now, drizzle and fog in the south tomorrow. Morning fog patches, then fine and partly cloudy conditions right across the northern plains. More rain over the Alps, only 3 degrees there for Mount Hotham, and the Mallee country is looking for a top near 17. On the water, smooth seas tomorrow, winds light and variable, waves close to ½ a metre. Melbourne's weather, the gloom continues, fog and drizzle overnight and tomorrow morning before clearing during the afternoon. 1 or 2 sunny breaks developing, forecast high there of 14 degrees. Now, there's been a major change in the extended forecast now. We're expecting a low to develop off the Tasman Sea. Basically, that means rain developing late Sunday now, around 15 degrees. Wet there on Monday, 14 degrees. More rain for Tuesday, 14 degrees. A few showers for Wednesday and Thursday. Top temperature near 13 degrees. Now, if you plan on skiing this weekend, here's the latest snow report. Poor weather across the Alps today, a mix of rain and snow. The best skiing is on the groomed areas. 18 lifts open at Falls. Over at Mount Hotham, they've had 12.5 centimetres of fresh snow in the past 24 hours. Buller's snow cover is good in the snowmaking areas, fair elsewhere. Borbor's cover overall is good, while Lake Mountain has a fair cover on the upper trails. No snow at Donnabuang.
And that's the latest from the 7 Nightly News team. Our special coverage of the GST continues now with Today Tonight. Good evening, Naomi.
Thank you, David, and good evening to you. Now, you don't have to be an accountant or good with numbers to understand the GST. We've had the experts work it out for you. Today Tonight has recruited several families to test the effects of a goods and services tax on high, middle and low-income earners and assess just what impact the proposed new tax will have on their spending power. We also invited the head of Australia's Taxpayers Association to give us his opinion. Chris Simmond reports on today's winners and losers.